Right now, Danielle, and only on ABC 15, breaking developments in the freeway shootings case. Leslie Merritt Jr. said investigators had the wrong guy when he was arrested last month, and now his defense attorneys say they can prove it. ABC 15's Katie Connor, our lead reporter on this, joining us live with one of Merritt's two high-profile attorneys. Katie, good morning.
Good morning, Chris. I'm here with Jason Lamb, Leslie Merritt's attorney, or one of his two attorneys. You have been doing your separate investigation since your client was arraigned. What have you found?
Well, as we pointed out in a filing that was submitted to the clerk of the court late yesterday, simply put, Leslie Merritt Jr. has an alibi for the shootings with which he's charged.
Does that mean you can place him at different locations than the shootings occurred?
As we laid out in our motion through very detailed phone and text message records, he simply wasn't there. There were a number of witnesses in addition to that can document his whereabouts throughout the day, but most importantly, at the time that he was alleged to have committed the I-10 freeway shootings with which he's charged.
And for example, the first two shootings happened 11:03, 11:05. And where was your client, or how did you find where your client was at that time?
Well, quite simply through talking to witnesses, witnesses who had contact with him at that time, and then objectively corroborating that information with electronic records that fix his location and really point out in a very black and white sort of manner that he wasn't along the I-10 freeway. In fact, he was miles away.
Should DPS have done their own investigation to see where Merritt was during, at the time of the shooting? Typically
in an investigation, law enforcement is looking at proving someone guilty. Now, in a perfect world, we want them to look at both sides, but there's an issue of resources, etc. But in a high-profile case like this, when you're branding someone as public enemy number one, saying that they're responsible for a string of high-profile crimes that are bringing a community to its knees, maybe you need to look a little bit further. They didn't do that, but we did.
And where do we go from here? You filed this motion, so what's next?
Well, at this point, the county attorney is going to have an opportunity to respond to the motion. I imagine Judge Granville will be setting a hearing at some point, and we'll have to weigh out the alibi, and the court will determine, is this a change in circumstance? That's what's legally required to change release conditions, and the court will make a determination of the witnesses and evidence and perhaps release Mr. Merritt. That's what we're looking for at this point.
Okay, thank you very much, Jason, for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it. Chris, coming up on ABC 15 mornings at 6, we'll take a look at the times of the first shootings and where his attorney says he was. We have all that information coming up at 6.